Ready to Love Season 4. This is a special video on the Ages and Stages interview that was done with Cornelius from last night. If you guys haven't seen it, please see the link below in my description box. Check that video out. I also did a video late last night, but I was tired, bunch of stuff going on, so I really didn't get in it too much. But I wanted to come back today and do a deeper dive into it. And I've had some time to think about it a little bit more over the night. And let me tell you, not only am I certain of the way I feel about Cornelius now, I feel even stronger about it, actually, you guys. So let me kind of go over what I learned and what went on in the video. And this is a little bit more than what I talked about last night, because last night I actually left out several things because I was just trying to get through it and get to bed, actually. But anyway, last night, Rashid and Symone interviewed Cornelius. Shout out to the two of them from the Ready to Love family interviewing another Ready to Love person. And they hosted an interview session with Cornelius. All throughout the interview with Cornelius, I was frustrated. I was thinking, what is he talking about? I didn't know if he was lying to us, if he was gaslighting us. It was just so weird because every excuse he made for Kamil was because of bad editing. Bad editing on the looks, bad editing on the words. He even said that he thinks in some situations they actually put words in Kamil's mouth, that Kamil didn't say those things, and that although Kamil's lips were moving, the editing team actually inserted words into her mouth. I don't know how Ready to Love production will answer that, but these are actually some really big, bold claims. I don't know how you get that much footage on Kamil in such a short period of time that you can completely misrepresent her. I don't believe it's true, but what was more frustrating was Cornelius wouldn't admit to anything, not one thing, not like there was 10, 15 things we saw Kamil do. Not one did he say, oh, well, this one over here really did happen, but this one didn't. No, literally everything we saw about Kamil, he said it was bad editing. But anyway, this made me sort of stop for a minute because at first I was frustrated. I was like, what is this dude saying? And then I finally just sat back and I relaxed and said, let me just really go through and listen and come to understanding of what's really going on. So here's what I think, you guys. Anyway, he starts off telling us his life story. He tells us, well, part of his story. It's not his life story, but he says he was born in Arkansas. He then moved to Memphis, where he grew up mostly. And Kamil eventually went back there and met his family as well. And then he moved to Kansas and worked there for a while. He went to Tennessee, I think it's Tennessee State. He majored in aeronautical engineering. And I think that's the field he's still in today. Which, when I always knew Cornelius was an engineer, I always thought, it's so weird that he seems like he doesn't operate off of any logic. And you always think of engineers as more logical, less than emotional. And I know that's a stereotype because many of you guys know I am a trained engineer. I went to school for engineering. So I know that we are not just all logical. We also have both sides of us. So I kind of always felt sort of a kinship with Cornelius of that because there's not that many black engineers. So I understand this sort of creative side, but I will tell you that even with that, I remember also thinking that there were some things that didn't seem to line up about Cornelius. Although he was celibate and he has a strong faith, I also found it weird that of the type of modeling he did. There's nothing wrong with having a creative outlet for modeling, but I always thought it was weird that the modeling he chose was shirtless, it's sexual, it's provocative. And I know a bunch of people are like, oh, what difference does that make? What difference does that make? I don't know. I just want you to put a pin in that because what I'm going to start talking about later, all of this will make sense to us. Because on one part of Cornelius, he's one way, but then all of a sudden we see this other part of Cornelius and we're like, something doesn't add up. And one of the things I've noticed over the years is when things don't make sense, that's because something else is going on in the background and you don't have some additional information. And so what you're seeing in the present doesn't make sense because you don't have backstories. But anyway, so I always thought it weird that the modeling he did was sexual, provocative, that it was much more vain than we think of this sort of not conservative Cornelius, but more like meek and mild and everything. It was really weird. But anyway, he goes on and tells the story. One of the questions that Symone and Rashid asked about him, they started getting to his celibacy journey and even his Christianity journey. And another thing he said, just so you guys know, is that he said the way that he came to Christianity really was in college. He said he had a roommate. He said he had a pretty tough roommate that came from sort of a tough neighborhood, had some really tough things. And he even said at one time he was really scared of the guy. He even thought the guy might have even murdered someone. He said, I don't even know. He could have murdered somebody. I think he was just saying it just in jest. But the point he was making was that this guy was a pretty tough guy. And that Cornelius, being his roommate, felt he was quite different. And he said, I was afraid of him. Cornelius then goes on to say that one of the reasons he became a Christian was because he felt being a Christian, he could help the guy. So remember this. He said he wanted to help the guy. Basically, he wanted to save that man from that life. And so one of the reasons why Cornelius became a Christian at that time was so that through his own faith and walk, he could help and save this guy. So that's the story he tells. Remember that. Anyway, we fast forward. He starts talking about his journey on Ready to Love. He talks about that when let me go back. He started also talking about past relationships and when he actually became celibate. So one of the stories he told was that he was with a woman back, I think, in maybe, he didn't say the year he was with her, but he did say that she had a couple of kids and that they dated for a couple of years. And when he broke up with the young lady, he felt bad and remorseful because he felt like not only was he losing the woman he was with, that relationship was being torn apart. He was also losing the bond he had formed with the kids. And he almost kind of felt bad, sort of abandoning the kids or the breakup with the kids and all that sort of stuff. So he felt it was hard for him to detach from that role. He talked about how the kids would come over his house and play. So he wasn't the type of boyfriend where he just saw the kids when he was coming to pick up the girlfriend. It seems as if they might have even formed a deeper sort of family unit. And he was sort of lamenting the breakup of that as well. So he also talks about how when he was dating before Ready to Love, he would be on Tinder, he would be on Bumble, which we know Bumble is a site where the women get to make the first move. And he said that he found that frustrating because he would go out on dates. One of the dates were expensive. And then he says, then you're waiting to see if the woman calls you. So maybe that's Bumble. I don't know. Bumble came out after my days of dating, but I don't know if the woman, she initiates everything from what I hear. So he would say you'd go out on dates and now you're waiting for her to call you. So even this right here, it sounds different from a man's point of view. This starts to feel more like, what females talk about. But nonetheless, this was one of the things he didn't like about dating. He talked about how he didn't become celibate until around 2020. And one of the reasons he became celibate is because he felt that sex was sort of prematurely bonding him to women. And he wanted to remove that from the equation. He felt that it was playing too big a role in bonding him to other women. And he really wanted to get to know women with the absence of sex. I think he was bonded to women, not just through sex, but through what I keep saying is I think Cornelius has sort of this white knight savior complex and he likes to save people. But nonetheless, if you remember on Ready to Love, we also met one of his ex-girlfriends. And I remember when we saw her, I thought, wow, I would have never expected Cornelius to date this woman. I thought the woman was nice. I thought she was sweet. I thought all these things, but in my mind, it just wasn't who I would have put him with. Now, people can say all what they want about me, but I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought that. I mean, I thought about a couple of men on the show. Cornelius's girlfriend with the rapture nails. I thought, wow, that's odd. But anyway, I remember thinking, oh, that's really interesting. That wouldn't be who I thought type of person he would date. Not that there was anything wrong with the lady, but I never really just saw the two of them together. But now that even makes more sense to me as well, because like I said, I think Cornelius likes to date underdogs. I think he likes to date women who need saving, need help, and then he comes in as the knight in shining armor. And I think the part about being the model, but also liking that sort of look at me, look at my sexy body, I think it goes hand in hand, because knights are heroes and they do like people to look at them. They do like to be recognized for what they do. So they have two parts to them. They are saving people, but there's also a part of it that's a bit vain and has a bit vanity to it, because they also want to be recognized for the hero work that they do. So anyway, when he gets on Ready to Love, when he starts to tape, he says they start to tape Ready to Love in July and August. And he comes on the show because he does want to find love, but he's also pretty concerned that he may not meet anyone. So he says that when he does come to start filming, but when Kamil walks in, he immediately feels a strong physical connection to her. And it has to be physical because at this point in time, he doesn't know anything about her. He was essentially saying that he was attracted to her body and the fact that he felt that she was beautiful. And this is normal with any man. Men are visual, so most men are going to be attracted to you first physically. So that's not anything new. But he felt that there was a strong connection to a point where he even said, he was like, when he saw her, it was like, that's it, that's her, that's it. Oh, good, I'm happy. He was happy. But he also said that he didn't settle on Kamil right away, even though he felt this strong connection. He also said he had an interest after talking to Sia. He said he talked to Sia for several hours. It wasn't shown on camera a lot, but he talked to her for several hours. This also might explain why Sia was quite taken aback when she was almost voted off first, because I think Sia believed that she had a really strong connection with Cornelius. And so what she was wondering was, if I had such a strong connection and had such great conversation, why I'm in the bottom? And remember that about Sia. She had a very strong reaction. He also said he was interested in Zadia. So it's interesting that Zadia and Kamil are friends now. He also said he was interested in Courtney. So if you look at the four women he was drawn to, after talking to them all of these women have very strong personalities. In fact, some of them would say even aggressive. I would say there's another part of them that's in common. Not so much Courtney, I don't know, because we didn't get to know about her, much about her. But I would say between Zadia, Kamil, and Sia, I always felt there was an underlying insecurity about them, and that outward aggression and outward nastiness and that outward behavior that we saw was sort of a protection to sort of guard something from within. And I believe that Cornelius saw that as well. I think Cornelius is attracted to wounded women. I think he sees this tough exterior on the outside, but on the inside, he sees the wounded woman. And that actually is what attracts him. I know that people are probably like, oh, you're jumping to conclusions and all these types of things. Now, I go on to say that when Cornelius was talking about, where the audience was talking about Kamil, and they were asking him, what about all the mean things she said, and she calls you a country bumpkin? He had an explanation for everything. He just blew it off. He was like, oh yeah, well, she apologized for that. Oh, that was bad editing. At no point in time did he ever hold Kamil accountable. And I know a lot of people will say, well, that's his girlfriend. Why wouldn't he protect her? First of all, you can protect a person and still say that something that they did was wrong. The two aren't mutually exclusive. Second of all, when it's that many things that we saw, all of it wasn't bad editing. It can't be all bad editing. And he never admitted at any point in time that there was anything that Kamil did wrong. He constantly protected her. Even when they brought up what Zadia did with Dante, he stuck up for Zadia as well. So the protectionism that he had for Kamil, let me tell you, it is not exclusive to Kamil. He was protecting everyone in that brown girl squad. And when that Brown Girl Squad was formed, all of us, not all of us, a lot of us knew that there was a lot of insecurity in that group. And all of that stuff we saw about them ganging up on Sydney, Aisha, and different women in the group, that was some catty, mean girl stuff. That's what that was. And we all know that underneath mean girls is insecurity. Any woman knows that we've been hanging around women long enough that when you see that mean, catty girl stuff, that's insecurity. It's jealousy, it's envy lying beneath the surface. And that's what creates this outward mean girl appearance and also aggression. Even when you look at what Tasia was doing on Ready to Love, how she would get nasty. She was very insecure in groups. When she was on dates with Phil, it was insecurity just oozing out of her. And instead of it, she recognizing this insecurity, she would get angry and she would get up and leave. It's all the same thing. So I still think that this is what Cornelius is drawn to. He says he likes aggressive women. He says this. He says he likes women that have meat on their bones. And I'm not going to stereotype women with meat on their bones, but I will go far and say is Cornelius likes women who have insecurities. I think he likes to come in and be the savior and save them. Now, this actually explains Camille's behavior, because when we saw Kamil, she was so aggressive. We were like, why is she all over this man? Why is he can't even move. He can't breathe. He can't even sit where he wants to sit. But it explains it because Kamil sees what we see now. And that is Cornelius goes to everybody to save them. And Kamil didn't want that to happen. Kamil needed to control Cornelius because she looked at Cornelius as like a country bumpkin. He's naive. He's gullible. He's going to go over to these women. He's not going to know what these women are really trying to do. I need to stop it. I need to save him. I need to keep him closed in because he's like this lamb out here in the world. He's this vulnerable person and these women are going to take advantage of him and I need to keep him close to keep him for myself. That in itself was insecure, but it was also her trying to protect Cornelius in her mind from all these other women that she thought was going to take advantage. But what she didn't know was she was the lamb. She was the lamb. And the more she did that, just like we saw in the show, it was like the more crazy Kamil acted, the more possessive, the more insecure she acted, Cornelius was turned on by it. The more he protected her. Even now that they're off the show, the more all this chatter in the background goes on, the more that people talk badly about Kamil, the more he stands up and fights for her. And let me tell you, it's just not unique to Kamil. This is a pattern and this is a history in Cornelius's life. So if we all want to know, is this relationship going to last? Well, did any of his other relationships last when he's in a hero complex? Obviously not, because he's here now. He made a comment that, Kamil can get any guy that, she wants. Well, obviously not. Let's start. None of the people could, because if everybody could just get anyone they want, we wouldn't be on a dating show trying to find love. They're trying to find love because they haven't been successful. So nothing's wrong with that, but don't come over here and say a whole nother thing that she can have anyone she wants. Obviously not, because she wouldn't be on Ready to Love. He paints everything with the rose-colored glasses, all these glowing euphemisms. But I think it's what he's drawn to. I think he sees the inner part of everyone and he wants to save it. So I don't know. I'm going to stop now because this video is getting long. I don't like to do long videos. But tell me what you guys think. I'm so interested in seeing this Ready to Love reunion because I'm sure it's going to be more of the same. So look out for it on the reunion show to see if Cornelius shows up in his cape on his white horse. And if he tries to take everybody down that comes for anyone in his Brown Girl Squad, let's see how many women he tries to save on this reunion coming up tonight. That's it. Talk to you later. Bye.